Here you get a bar chart to describe for academic writing part 1 test. As the question describes, the chart below shows the expenditure of two countries on consumer goods in 2010. So the time period is 2010. The expenditure is given in sterling pounds from 0 to 500,000 of money spent by these two countries, France and UK. We see that France is represented by blue color bar, while the UK is represented by the orange color. Okay, so the first thing in describing the chart and writing the answer, write in the introduction to our essay. So when writing the introduction, what we do is very simple. So we are paraphrasing the question. Paraphrasing means we are writing what is described in the question by using our own words, by using synonyms and the phrases that is not given in the question. You can use the word illustrates instead of showing, because in most of the question they use the word shows. So paraphrasing means we have to use another word for certain words in the question. Okay, so now look at this paraphrase. The chart illustrates the amount of money spent on 5 consumer goods. So you can give these 5 consumer goods within bracket cars by separating the nouns or separating the consumer goods with commas: cars, computers, books, perfume and cameras within bracket. So why we are writing within bracket? Because it will increase the word count. Okay, if you have written less than 150 words, so this will increase the word count. Now note how it is written in France and UK in capital letters. You can also write about the units. So here it says units are measured in pounds sterling because it has been given in the question. Okay, now let's move on to the overall trend. The overall trend is very important because we have to identify the overall trend of the chart. If you can't do that, we'll lose a lot of marks in the test. So therefore we have to develop that is skill in identifying the overall trend. So after writing several answers, anyone can develop this skill. So let's try to find out the overall trend in this chart. So let me read first. Overall, the UK spent more money on consumer goods than France in the period given. Okay, that is one thing that you can notice. So it says the UK spent more money on consumer goods than France in the period given. So it is not always in terms of computers and perfumes, it is the other way around. But anyway, as an overall trend, it can be identified that the UK spent more money on, generally speaking, on consumer goods than France in the period given. Both the British and French spent most of their money on cars, whereas the least amount of money was spent on perfume in the UK compared to cameras in France. Okay, so that is the highest amount of money spent, both countries. At the same time, the least amount of money was spent on perfume, while the France spent the least amount of money to cameras. So it is different. So therefore, we have to identify that. So the highest amount and the least amount we have to write as the overall trend. We have to explain further. So therefore we can add cohesive device furthermore. So we can use something in addition to the detail that we have provided so far. Furthermore, the most significant difference in expenditure between the two countries was on cameras. So this is another trend that we can identify in the chart. Because you see that the France spent 150,000 while the UK has spent 350, almost half. So that is a significant difference. That is also something that we can write under the overall trend paragraph. So the overall trend paragraph, you can write trends that we see by looking at the whole chart. Okay, and after that we can write the body paragraph. Then we move on to the body paragraph. We know that in body paragraph what we write is the detail. So there the third paragraph has been started by using the cohesive device in terms of cars. So this is also a good way of starting a paragraph. In terms of cars, so we are dealing with each and every consumer item here. Okay, so what do you have to say about cars? Now please look at the chart carefully. In terms of cars, people in the UK spent about 450,000 pounds. Yeah, it is said clearly. As opposed to the French 400,000. On cars, the French spent 400,000 but 450. There's not much significant difference in these two figures, but anyway, the highest because highest amount of expenditure is on cars, so the writer has started with that detail. Okay, then there's another thing that has to be said, that is the same way or similarly the British expenditure was higher on books than the French, around 400 and 300,000 respectively. It is the other way around. Okay, it is the other way around. It is almost the second largest expenditure, that is the French spend more money than British. Detail written in within bracket. Okay, so within bracket you can give the figures. Usually most of the time when the figures are given, use the brackets, so that is easy. Similarly, the British expenditure was higher on books than the French, so that is the sentence. But as an additional detail, the figures have been added within the bracket. So then in the UK, expenditure on cameras just over 350,000. Expenditure on cameras. Now look at the cameras, just over 350,000, slightly over 350,000. This is the only instant that we see in this chart. It is almost the double that of France. The France spent 150,000. British spent the double amount of that, 350, almost double. So these figures are described nicely in the third paragraph. Okay, these are also significant features. Okay, right. Now look at the last one. There's something left that has to be described in the last paragraph. These are the contrasting details to what that has been described so far by the praise on the other hand. So this is a good way of starting a paragraph that describes something in contrast to what you have described earlier. On the other hand, the amount of money paid out on the remaining goods, the computers and perfume, it is higher than France. Okay. On the other hand, the amount of money paid out on the remaining goods was higher in France, lower in British. Further, it describes about 350,000 was spent by the French on computers. Now, very interestingly, we can notice that in the case of computers, the French spent more money than UK, slightly more than British, who spent 350,000. Neither of the countries spent much on perfume, which accounted for, okay, France spent 200,000, 150,000 UK. There's a difference in UK and France, but anyway, it seems that when compared to other consumer goods, both countries had spent the less amount of money. So that is the least amount of money spent on a consumer good is the perfume. So you see that in these two body paragraphs, all the significant features of the chart has been explained nicely. Not a single important detail has been missed by the writer. Okay, so definitely the writer may score band 8 and above. So this is how you should write in the bar chart section. Okay, thank you very much.